Hello, everybody. Welcome to Movies by McManus, the podcast where we break down movies, comics, TV, books, whatever kind of media you're into, in the context of who created it and what effect it's trying to have on the world. I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the 2020 film His House, directed by Remi Weekes. This is a movie that I kind of wanted to do because we haven't really done like a horror movie yet on this podcast, and I kind of wanted to just talk about horror and how this genre particularly you can really use to just highlight like the fears and anxieties of the world. And this is a movie I wanted to talk about because it's so much about like the refugees in this coming into a new country. This is an English production, so it's about refugees from Sudan coming into England, but we have the same situation going on here in America, which the way refugees in America, the way that they're treated are probably even worse than the way that they are treated in England. But I like this idea of you have the main couple of Bol and Rial. They're coming from war-torn South Sudan, and they have to live in this house that the English government has provided for them. But the problem is the house is haunted. And it's really like the rock and a hard place situation where let's say in real life it's not haunted, but you have to live somewhere that's unlivable or else you'll be sent back, and you can't be sent back. So what kind of solutions are you having? And really like for a lot of refugees where they're brought into a new country and they can only live off like what the government is providing for them, there really is like kind of a suffer in silence. Like that is your only option, basically. And I like how they kind of use the idea of there's this demon witch that has followed them from Sudan into London and is now kind of haunting their house. And that's like the boiled down plot of the movie. That's like the basic conflict of I have to live in this house, but this house is trying to kill me, Yeah,
I mean, the problem that I have is I'm just not familiar with the reality of the situation that they're depicting, so I'm not sure like to what degree we're supposed to go, oh, this is representing, the immigration struggle, which I'm sure it is, but I can't speak intelligently whatsoever on A, Britain, and B, the African immigrant experience. So I'm just taking this as sort of a movie. You mentioned we hadn't done a horror movie. This really reminded me of what was the movie we did recently with Jesse Eisenberg.
Vivarium, which, I mean, okay, that was kind of a thriller, but more like this, like your classic horror of like it's a haunted, there's a monster in your house, like we haven't done, I feel like.
Yeah, I see. To me, this didn't feel like a classic horror. It felt more like, maybe because again, we talk about this a lot, but these kind of new film techniques of like the over-the-top nature of everything.
Yeah.
And, sort of like the set almost reminded me of Vivarium too, as far as...
Well, they're both kind of... I mean, first of all, I like this movie way better than Vivarium. I mean, Vivarium was kind of a dud. But, yeah, it is kind of, it's a haunted house story.
Right.
And you're all in this house, and the house is trying to kill you. I guess you can make the connection of, like, it's both about... I don't know, because Vivarium is more of a, it is a thriller, so you get those aspects, and it is kind of about, like, fear and anxiety of modern life, but it's more like the fear of, like, going into debt, or the fear of, like, being suffocated by, like, a 9-to-5 job, or, like, a family life that's, like, slowly killing you inside.
This movie utilizes more like maybe classic horror, like techniques, like kind of like the jump or the
there's a lot of the monster design, the design itself of like the witch, it's kind of a basic design, but there are a lot of really creepy movements that the witch does that are very unsettling. I like this idea of kind of like, the reason that the witch is haunting them is because they did something horrible. They had to do something horrible in order to get out of Sudan. They had to basically kidnap a young girl in order to escape.
Well, that gets into, like, how are you defining had?
Right, exactly.
It's essentially it was a choice.
They didn't had to. It was a choice, but it was like, we are willing to make this choice in order to get out. And it's kind of, they said from the beginning that this witch has followed them from Sudan and is now haunting them. So it puts like kind of that idea in the audience head of it was something that they did in Sudan that is haunting them now. I like this because when the witch kind of appears, like there's kind of like a whole village around him always, and it is kind of like I always feel like he's the manifestation of like all the people who didn't make it, exactly. He's the people who didn't make it, and it is kind of that fear of just like what you were saying before of like, it's hard to speak intelligently about this because it's like obviously a situation we've never been in.
Well, not only that, I just don't know anything about it.
But it's also like that idea of survivor's guilt where you got out of a war-torn country, but there are so many people who didn't make it. In like the flashback, like dream sequence, we see Rial back in Sudan, and basically she hid like in her classroom where she works, but everybody else got massacred. And the final shot is them in their new house, but the entire village is around them, of kind of like there's so many ghosts coming with you of all the people who didn't make it. But yeah, I mean, I like this movie. So Remi Weekes is this is his directorial debut, at least for a feature film. I do believe that he's directed a short film before this, but watching this, it didn't feel like a first-time director. And I think a lot of that is because Remi Weekes had kind of been working in the London film industry for years as like an editor and a screenwriter. And you do get the sense of like, this is someone who has a lot of experience in the industry. So it doesn't feel like it's a first-time director. And there is also the situation with it going to Netflix, which is another reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this movie. This movie, it was always set to premiere on Netflix. It was never meant to have a wide release, at least not in America. It did premiere at Sundance Film Festival, where it was bought by Netflix. But I said this in my breakdown, like, obviously I'm not trying to make light of the pandemic. Like, no one should think like I'm saying that. But with the situation where theaters are closed and everything is going to streaming, we are kind of in a situation where smaller budget movies like this can compete against larger budget movies. And where like smaller budget movies like this, if it wasn't for streaming and if it wasn't for the fact that we're in a pandemic and like we're not hearing about all these, big blockbuster movies, this is a movie that might have been forgotten.
I mean, the streaming services are an equalizer.
Yeah,
I mean,
they really are.
Yeah, like I don't know the financial dynamics of like what Netflix chooses to put in the home screens and stuff like that, and I know it's different for each person to some degree.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like the internet, like democratizing things, where it's like again, it gets into what the marketing spend is and that sort of thing. But if the distribution is somewhat democratized, then, you know, you would hope that it becomes a meritocracy and, you know, the cream rises to the top and are not going to be blocked out by just because you don't have the funds.
Right, exactly. But it is kind of cool, this idea of like streaming being like the great equalizer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know, the way of like this kind of streaming revolution that we're kind of in, I've always saw it as like more of a negative, just because like movies aren't making as much money as they normally would. But at the same time, it's like it is kind of giving smaller budget films a equal footing to go up against the big guys. I mean,
you know, and also like if production companies or movie houses or whatever, you know, if there's a way to make a film where you're not spending $200 million, isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that gonna mean that you're gonna take more chances? Hopefully,
yeah, exactly.
That's me being idealistic.
But and it's also good for like a director like Remi Weekes, who, if it wasn't for streaming, like we probably would have no idea about him, because. And he's probably, because of the success of this movie, at least critically, because like on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has 100%.
It's going to lead to his next thing.
It's going to lead to his next thing. But let's say we weren't in a pandemic, or like Netflix never bought this movie, and it was distributed by the Weinstein Company like it was originally supposed to be. And it was released in theaters, and say it was released the same weekend as like an Avengers. This movie would have gotten blown out of the water.
Well, of course.
And if it didn't make the box office that it was expecting, then it's very possible that Remi Weekes wouldn't have gotten a second chance. Yeah. Because of streaming, someone like Remi Weekes gets a second chance. And I think, you know, obviously that's a positive. That's got to be a great thing.
It's like music. I mean, it's like, you know, back in the day, you'd have to get signed to a big record label, and they would give you an advance, and then if you didn't recoup that money for the label, you would be dropped or you'd be shelved. And, you know, now with the internet, you could kind of, if you're savvy, you could put your own team together that does marketing and does your distribution and does your publicity, and you could have a shot, you know? Like, still, at the end of the day, I'm sure behind the scenes, there's still political maneuvering that's going on with all these streaming services, obviously. Yeah. It's not to say that any average Joe could fucking get their shit distributed, you know, but, you know, if it leads to more opportunities, and my thing is this, if it leads to more chances being taken, that's a good thing, because God, man, we can't live in this fucking Avenger world forever.
Yeah,
we really can't. Like, where are we going here? It's just going to be Super Bowl commercials of fucking superheroes, and that's it. And that's your whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck the movie theater shit. Like, shout out to the movie theaters, and I like going to movie theaters. But if this is fucking going to get, you know, revitalize some fucking creative juices, then good. And
that hopefully because of this, it's the directors who like have the most creativity or are legitimately best at the job who are going to be getting more movies to direct, getting bigger budget movies direct, rather than the directors who just have a history of consistently making people money. You know?
Yeah, or the movies that just are jam-packed with stars and, like, you know, like, shoved down your throat. Like,
yeah, well, I do like, because kind of horror in general has kind of been that low-budget, like, no interference genre.
Low class, not respected.
Well, yes, low class and not respected, but the thing with horror is that you can make it for a very low amount of money, because unlike, like, an action movie or a comedy movie, you kind of need star power attached to it in order to get people into theaters. And
I know you've always said that about comedies, and I've never really understood that, but you always say that the big comedy doesn't happen anymore because they're not going to pay a star $50 million, or, you know, like, in other words, a comedy doesn't get into a theater unless it's fucking Seth Rogen.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with horror, you don't really have that situation because a lot of people will still go see a horror movie even if they don't know any of the actors.
Probably more so. That's a big part of the problem that actually some of the Blair Witch people had was they were in this giant fucking movie and they thought it was gonna. None of those Blair Witch guys like did anything afterwards. Well, one of them like kind of had a career. Yeah. But out of the three of them, like. They basically didn't, and it was because of this reason. They thought they were going to be stars after that movie, but the real star of the movie was the unknown or the.
Well, Well, think about just like talking about Blair Witch in general, like that idea of kind of found footage. We're doing an entire movie from like a camcorder's perspective. Yeah. And it's going to be almost this fake documentary. You couldn't do that in really any other genre besides horror, especially not like, unless a few years after
reality show or something like
well, a few years after, the kind of found footage horror got played out. But at the time of Blair Witch Project, like, one, if it wasn't for the fact that it was such a low budget movie, like something like that never would have flied. Just like it's gonna be all on a camcorder and it's gonna be shaking the entire time. But it's so low budget and like no studio, it doesn't need to be a hit. So they're going to allow you to be more creative. Just like, all right, we're doing this for what, $1 million. So okay,
I don't even know what that movie cost, but
also, if it wasn't for it being a horror movie, that movie wouldn't have gotten so much buzz around it, because people are going to horror movies to be scared. They're not expecting to see a big name actor or some like real dramatic performance. They're expecting to just be scared for an hour and a half. And that's why with horror, you can make a horror movie for a low budget that has a huge amount of return. And you talk about like a studio like Blumhouse, which I mentioned in my breakdown. I should be clear, his house isn't a Blumhouse production, but the basic business model of Blumhouse is we're going to produce way more movies than any other studio does for all of them have very low budgets, barely any of them have any star power attached, and if 3 of them are a success, we've made a profit. And that's kind of the idea of horror, which is why horror directors in particular are allowed to innovate more. Look at Jaws. I mean, Jaws is a bad example, but it's a big budget movie. But the idea of like, you never see the shark until the end. Oh. I mean, how many people then copied that afterwards?
I was just going to say that one of the things that I felt this movie didn't handle is I felt they were going to those horror techniques and showing, I know it's like the whole Jaws thing, don't show the shark, but right. I felt like they were revealing too much.
Yeah, I kind of felt like that. The complaint I have most about his house is the witch, where I said it does a lot of like creepy movements, which I liked, but it's a very simplistic design. You see too much of it.
Way too much. There's way too much monster shit.
Yeah, you see too much of it. I would have liked with this movie, because a lot of the beginning of this movie is kind of just like the anxiety of being in a new country.
Yeah.
And I thought that could have blended in more with like the actual horror elements.
Yes. And also, I didn't feel like they handled the whole daughter thing that great. Like,
really? That was one of
I wasn't entirely clear on what was happening. Maybe that was my fault, but like I was just like, okay, all right. Like
basically, like the bus that was leaving was only accepting children.
They grabbed some
woman's child.
Yeah, I know.
In order to get onto the bus.
Yeah, I mean, that was like towards the end of the movie.
Yeah,
like I feel like,
but the entire time of the movie, I like that that was one of my favorite parts. It's kind of this big reveal that they are talking the entire time about their daughter who died, and then you find out like, oh, they kidnapped a girl.
Yeah.
In order to escape. I do like with his house, you do get like the anxiety aspect of like basically you come into a new country and you're like under government control almost.
Yeah, and almost like it almost had the feeling of parole.
Yes.
Where it's just like they're almost hedging their bets that you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah, basically, where, you know, they start out in the detention center and that when they're told they're being released into a new home, they're like very clear, like this is basically bail, like it's temporary. And it is kind of like someone on parole.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most ridiculous things of like they come into the new house and they're supposed to be super grateful, like, because they're not in a like really cramped living situation
or being shot at.
But it's also like they're not allowed to work. They have to it's $70 pounds, which, you know, basically equates to like $150 a week that they have to live on.
What is even making me nervous was the scene when he was sitting listening to music on his phone. I was just like, I wonder if that fucking music's gonna get him in trouble.
Yeah,
they have so many restrictions.
But it is kind of like you bring this refugee couple into a new country, and then you expect them to assimilate. But you put so many restrictions on them that they can't assimilate. How are they supposed to assimilate into a new culture if they can't work?
Yeah.
You know, one of the rules is like you're not allowed to have guests, you're not allowed to have friends, and it's like, hey, all right, I can't work, I can't have coworkers, I can't have friends, but you want me to become more English?
Yeah, I mean, also it's like, you know, just to use the example that we know, which is New York and immigration, is like, you know, why aren't they speaking English? And it's like, well, I don't know, maybe because their families across the fucking globe, or, you know, in South America or whatever, and they're working for fucking, you know, cents on the dollar, and, you know, that's the one fucking piece of their identity they have left.
Exactly.
You know?
And that idea of, you know, there's an idea in America, which we talk about a lot, of like immigrants or refugees coming in and wanting to keep a piece of their culture. You don't really get that in this movie. You get more of like the isolation in this movie.
Yeah.
Because besides the main couple, you know, there's no other refugees they really have besides like the first scene when they're in the detention camp. There's no other really refugees that they come in contact with.
And then the black kids they come in contact with make fun of her for being African.
Exactly, which it's one of the heartbreaking scenes of like she's in a new country. No one's really welcoming to her, and she sees these young kids and think that we have the same you know, skin color, so maybe they'll be more helpful to me, and they become ruder, more nasty to her than anyone else has.
And I was just like, you guys, and this is probably the point, but it's just like, you know, guys, I'm sure there's white people around here that are saying racist shit about you guys.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And it's like, it's just so sad to see that.
It is sad, and it's kind of like when Bol, the husband, basically goes back to immigration and, you know, wants to relocate to a new house. And Matt Smith, the immigration officer, is like, well, they're going to ask why you're not assimilating. You know, it just goes back to like this idea of like, we're barely giving you anything and you have to be grateful.
Yes.
And I keep going back because I like the basic premise of just like, you have to live in this house, but this house is haunted. And it's like, all right, let's take the ghost out. What if they're given like basically an unlivable place to live? I mean, besides the ghost, like the house that they have is basically falling apart.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting, and it's like you have to be grateful that we're giving this to you. You're not allowed to leave, you're not allowed to work, and you have to assimilate. And it's like such a ridiculous thing to ask someone. And like adding insult to it is when they do want to go to a different house, one of the immigration officers is like, your house is bigger than mine, you know? Just like it's another level of insult.
Yeah, when one of the scenes they're eating dinner together, and you could tell that he's trying to assimilate more.
Yeah.
Or he's, at least in his mind, he's going like, we gotta start acting English before there becomes a problem, and he's pretty like insistent on them using silverware.
Right.
And she mentions like, all I can taste is the steel or whatever.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, man, are we so used to utensils that actually is the case, and we just don't know? Because like when you bite into a fork, well, you don't bite into a fork. When you eat with a fork, I've never had that thought in my whole life.
I've never do either.
I wonder if like you hadn't eaten with a fork your whole life, and then you have, and when you do, like, do you taste it?
She wants to keep speaking even when they're alone, and she wants to, speak in her native tongue, and he's always telling her to speak English because and that is he wants to assimilate more than her, and that's kind of why he's ignoring the witch for longer. The second that the witch kind of like visits her, like she's automatically like, we have the spirit that followed us from Sudan that's haunting the house now. And he's very skeptical. I like that one scene of he's eating dinner and it zooms out and you see like
sick scene.
Yeah, and you see
that's
like he's just in the water and there's smoke. But it is kind of like it's what's going on in the character, and it's kind of like also his mindset of like this witch is haunting them, but he's chosen to ignore it. Also, they're in the worst situation possible, but he's elected to just see the bright side of they're in a country where they're not respected and they have to follow these ridiculous rules and they have to live in a falling apart house. And he's like, we're going to assimilate. We're going to eat using utensils. Yeah. And it is this great shot of just him. The world is falling apart around him.
Yeah.
And, and he's focused on utensils.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It just makes me think that because the closest example that comes to mind is like, going back to like our grandparents and great grandparents and stuff like that, as far as immigrating into New York and like, the whole thing with like our grandfather on our mom's side, like what I've always heard my whole life was that like, his father spoke Spanish, but like they didn't want that passing down.
Right.
Which is why our grandfather doesn't speak Spanish, which to me was always a shame. You know what I mean?
It is a shame. That was kind of with Italians with Italians and Sicilians, when like during World War II, there were so many Italian Americans who wanted to sign up for the army because they wanted to prove that they were American now, because they wanted to prove that they have assimilated and they've let their culture behind them. And especially since we were going to war against Italy, they kind of wanted to prove that, that would
be the ultimate.
I don't have loyalty to, our native country. I have loyalty to this country.
Yeah.
It's a relatable movie to, if you're not so far away removed from like your immigrant.
Yeah, which obviously we're
kind of are. This is if you're an American and your family came here more recently, I say this was probably a very relatable movie.
Yeah, it just makes me think of. I've always heard that our whole life,
Yeah.
That's why Spanish and Italian got stamped out.
Yeah.
Which I always wish that hadn't been the case. You know, even if it didn't make its way down to us, because we're really fourth generation removed.
Right.
But for like our grandparents, that was always like.
I know it is kind of a.
But that's how it was, man.
Yeah. It is, and our great grandparents were immigrants. They weren't refugees, and refugees, there's even more restrictions on them.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, when they first go into like the house, they're like, you should be lucky because usually it would be half the size and twice as many people, and it's kind of like this just constant reminder of like, you should be grateful. You should be grateful. We're giving you barely anything, but you should be grateful. There's also the Matt Smith character. So Matt Smith is like their immigration officer. I don't know if you know that actor at all.
He looked familiar. The guy in the beginning or the guy who's throughout. The guy who comes to the house.
Who's throughout, always comes, who's kind of like, you know, basically trying to help them a bit, but also kind of has a job to do.
Yes.
That actor's name is Matt Smith. He's like the only really like known actor in the entire movie.
What's his deal? He's English?
He's English, so he played, he was Doctor Who. I don't know if you know that show at all.
Yeah,
but
well, it's a remake. But
yeah. Pretty much all the characters are English. Remi Weekes grew up in London.
Is Remi Weekes African?
No, he was born in London.
Is he from Africa?
Oh, well, I
descent?
guess that, yeah, he has an African background. But no, he grew up in London. Besides, the only person out of the main cast who's from Africa is the wife, who's that actress is from Nigeria, but everybody else just is from London, basically.
Shout out to Remi from Gorillaz, who's also a guy named Remi from London.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's always, I think it's always cool when like a small international film kind of like gains success.
How did this get onto your radar?
Oh, I should tell. I don't know how much into the story. All right. So you know who recommended this movie?
Give me a guess. Give me a hint.
All right. So the account Sparks Movie Reviews.
Oh my God! Should we talk about that?
I kind of want to.
Let's get.
I'm not going to use any real names. There was an account that followed our Instagram
and Twitter,
and the personal account followed my personal account.
Well, what was the personal account?
Was like whoever the Sparks girl was. Who ran Sparks Movie Reviews.
Got it.
She was like, this is my personal account.
Got it. Jesus Christ.
And was always reviewing movies and
would interact with our stuff.
Would interact with our stuff like frequently.
Yes.
Would share a lot of our videos. Not only like to her like Sparks Movie Reviews.
It's a dirty world out there, folks.
And basically, this review account was stealing another girl's photos and posting and basically posing as her. And I found out, and I messaged her, and I was like, "This is not you. The person in your profile picture, and this is somebody else." I'm not going to say the other girl's real name, but I found the other girl's actual profile.
How did you find that, though?
Because the personal account kept messaging me like kind of weird things.
No. Okay, so we should back up. So how did you realize this was a catfish thing?
Well, I said it started. She started messaging first about movies, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll talk." And
now, this is on your personal page?
On my personal page. As her personal page.
Okay.
And then kept complaining about money all the time, and I was like, "Okay, I see where this is going, but like, they're also a movie thing, so why are they doing that?" And things just got kind of suspicious, and basically I just took one of her photos and put it into Google search.
Got it. So and that's how you found the real person?
And the real person came up, and I messaged the real person, and I was like, hey, there are two accounts. One's a personal account and one's a movie review account. And they're using all your photos, and I'm assuming that this isn't you.
Right. And
she was just like, no, this has been going on for like years now.
What? Holy shit.
Yeah. She was like, this person, this is like the fourth time that they've done it.
What?
They steal all my images, they make a fake account, and then they just start reviewing movies.
Don't you hate when that happens?
And she was just like, she was like, I don't know what the movie reviews have to do with it. And she's like, I get if she was like trying to scam people like out of money or anything. I was like, I think it's like partially that too. And she was just like, yeah, that's a consistent thing. They steal all my pictures. This has been going on for years.
What?
They steal all my pictures. They make a fake account, and then they just start like talking about movies.
Maybe it's like their passion, but they're also a criminal. Or
Maybe.
Like, listen, I like stealing shit. But
Maybe.
Also,
but anyway,
damn, that's weird as fuck.
But
so then
anyway,
the account shut down when you found out about it.
So I follow a lot of movie reviews on my pages on my personal account.
Yeah.
And I went to this other account, Chicks Talk Flicks, which is another podcast.
Are they real?
They are real, and they had done like a few they had shared a few of like the Sparks movie reviews posts.
What the fuck?
Like on their story and stuff of just like check it out. And I was just like, hey, you should know like that's a catfish account.
Oh my god.
And the Chicks Talk Flicks, that girl is kind of a badass. She like sent the word out to like thousands of her followers to like the movie reviews of just like, hey, this is catfish, and like they all got it reported and take it down.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's it's a good story. It's a good ending of just like. It got taken down, but I felt it was like the weirdest fucking thing of just like, yeah, she just steals all my fucking pictures and then starts reviewing movies. Anyway,
the amount of effort it goes in to do something criminal, you could just do something not criminal.
Yeah.
It's honestly unless you're stealing credit card information, I don't know about that shit. Maybe you could do that. You know what I mean? But as far as the effort, it's almost the same.
But anyway, the Sparks account had messaged me on my personal account and was like, I just watched this really good movie from England called His House. You should check it out.
Hilarious.
And you should do it on
so the
Movies by
came
McManus.
Through with the recommendation.
Hold on. Like, I should say how fucking weird this was.
It's deep. It's a long game.
Would always message me with movie recommendations, and I would message her of just like, hey, I saw this good movie. And it was, and then
all right,
she would talk about money troubles. And I was like, something weird is happening.
Let's get to the real bottom of this. Were you catching any type of feelings?
No. That would be weird.
Just be honest.
No, I'm not being honest.
I know you're not being honest. No, just fucking.
I am being honest. No,
was
of course
it a
not.
real catfish? How much money did you give up? More than 10,000?
I didn't give her. I would never give someone on the internet money. As soon as
unfortunately, there's lonely dudes out there. You know what I mean?
As soon as like they started talking about money issues and like, oh, I need $300 for this, and I was just like, oh, word, like. We've only talked about movies from now on, and now like suddenly you're bringing up money stuff, and I was just like, something's up. And I was just like, wait a minute, I don't even have any like proof that this girl is actually real. So that's when I kind of searched like I noticed that like she had no tagged photos, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And then that's when I was like, let me just take one of her images and put it into Google search, because like if this is a catfish, I want to fucking know. And then like the other girl showed up. I'm not gonna say the other girl's name because I respect the privacy or anything. And that's when I messaged her, and I was like, someone stole all your pictures and is reviewing movies as you, and she is like, this bitch again. It's like she takes all my fucking pictures and then just starts reviewing movies, and she's like, I don't understand what the fucking movie reviews have to do.
Why does she think it's a girl, though? You think it's a girl?
Oh, I don't know. It might not be a girl.
You caught a feeling, didn't you?
It doesn't. No. Let's go back. How much time do we have? Let's go back to his house.
We don't really do storytelling on this. This was
We don't really.
Yeah, we got some time.
We should bring it up because it was like that. The Sparks movie reviews like shared a bunch of our fucking.
She was one of our like first followers.
She was one of our first followers.
Again, we're saying she. We don't know.
Yeah. Like shared multiple of our videos on hers.
It's probably a 45-year-old guy in Russia.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But it's just so weird.
Shout out to Alexei Navalny.
Shout out to 45-year-old dudes in Russia. You're the real heroes keeping these catfish out here.
Alexei Navalny is a hero.
I don't know who Alexei Navalny is.
He's the guy that Putin keeps like arresting. He tried to fucking poison him. He's such a badass. He like went back to Russia.
After getting poisoned?
Yes. And then Putin put him back in jail.
And now he's just reviewing movies?
Shout out to Pussy Riot.
Yo, shout out to those girls. I forget where I'm going.
I just started talking about Russia for no reason.
I know. We just started
bring us back to.
We're bringing back
his house. His house.
His house. So there's always been a great thing in horror of like kind of showing the anxieties and like the struggles of a person in a way that it could be related to a person who's never had those struggles. You know, I said it in my breakdown of just like, we can't relate to the struggles of refugees, but everybody can relate to being scared of a giant monster.
And the potential loss of a child.
So you can use, if you take like a real life fear and then say this monster is a manifestation of that fear, then someone who's never like had to deal with that situation, it is an easier way to relate to. You've never seen the movie The Babadook, right?
Never even heard of it.
The Babadook is an Australian movie that's basically like this single mother taking care of her kid, and it is kind of like a metaphor for like motherhood or whatever. And basically she's trying to protect her kid from this like evil demon that's like basically trying to kill the kid. And like the kid is very awkward and like, you know, might have mental illnesses. And it is kind of a metaphor for a single mother who has to raise a son who has a disability. And you take it.
Shout out to all the single moms out there.
Yes. And
shout out to all the moms, period.
All the moms. Word. Exactly. But you have someone who can't relate to that, but you have that fear manifest as like the Babadook as a giant monster. And now that's something we can relate to. And that's kind of what horror has been doing for years. I mean, think about like Carrie. Carrie is about, you know, puberty. It's about women going through puberty. Men can't relate to that, but you have this kind of psychic element added to it, and that might be something that we can find terrifying.
That's a fucked up book, man.
Carrie is so sad. It's not Stephen King's. It's not Stephen King's scariest book, yeah, but it's probably his saddest. Or Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary is about losing a child.
Okay, Pet Sematary. I think about this a lot. If like people need to read that book. That
book is great. That's my favorite Stephen King book.
But it like the movie can't even come close to doing what it does.
Which movie are you talking about?
Well, I never saw the new one, but I'm talking about all right. So like the
new one sucks. Just
well, the stuff in the book about like the wife and like how the wife was like fucking his friends and shit. I don't know if you remember that part. And then she, like, when the wife comes back as, like, the dead version of the wife, and he's like, I used to let your friends fuck me in the ass and shit. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, yo, that's a fucked up book.
Yeah, well, not everybody, like, understands the pain of losing a child. So you put it in what?
Thank God.
Yeah, no, of course, thank God. But you take that pain and you put it into a metaphor of just like your child is a demon and it comes back and there's this haunted graveyard. Mm-hmm. And that's how you do it. And that's kind of like the beauty of just horror in general.
Yes.
It's a way of taking anxieties of in real life that not everybody can relate to and making it relatable to everybody.
You know, it reminds me of something that Stephen Colbert said, which is not to, I don't know if this is a brag or whatnot, but I interned for the Colbert Report, and one time
it's a brag.
Well, it's also true.
Yeah.
And he said that the reason that laughter is so powerful is because this is kind of the opposite of the point about horror, but when you're laughing, you're actually physically not scared. Like physiologically, you're actually in that moment not scared.
Okay.
So I don't know. That just reminded me of like kind of the opposite feeling.
Yeah. I gotcha. There are a few things like I kind of like about the beginning of this book of this movie, how it kind of it sets up kind of how trapped the characters are. And first you're in the detention center, and you get this feeling of like there is no hope for these people. I kind of like when they do get to the house and Matt Smith is kind of explaining all the rules. He is just like, no guests, no parties, no friends. And he says no ball games, no games, no ball. Yeah. And, Ball's the main character's name, is the guy's name.
Right.
Or it might be like pronounced a bit differently. Yeah. Like it's that, but with a bit of an accent. Like, but it's basically what he's saying of just like, you do not belong here.
You don't even exist.
You don't even exist. And there is kind of like this is temporary. And if you want to be in this country, you got to fight for it. You got to fight for it. And basically you got to be more appealing to us than the other people who are also trying to get in.
That's why I wish I just knew a little bit more about the actual situation, because I find it hard to believe, and maybe I'm wrong. Well, I don't find it hard to believe. I would like to believe that it's not that fucking fucked up for refugees.
Yeah, I don't know in London how it is. I mean, I'm sure that there's a bit of exaggeration.
Yeah.
It is a movie.
I don't know.
That's but I also don't. I'm also not sure.
Yeah. Like, is that a real serious commentary on how Britain is with refugees? I don't know.
I mean, Remi Weekes would probably know more than we would.
I would imagine.
But you get this idea of just like, this is temporary, and everyone's telling them that just like, this is bail, and he was just like, we're not going back. And Matt Smith kind of just says that line of just like, oh, that's the attitude of just like, he doesn't really believe it. I like Matt Smith's performance where he wants to help this couple out, but also like he's seen this before and he knows like the last people didn't make it. Like, you're probably not going to make it either. And there is like the scene of when the wife comes into the room and they're supposed to like seem like they're assimilating into England, and she's like, did you tell him about the witch? And they kind of make it seem like the immigration people believe that she might like have some mental illness, like she's kind of hallucinating this. And I always thought like, well, what if there was no wish? What if she legit had a mental illness or a disability?
Good point.
And it's like, if that was the case, they have just as much of a right to seek refuge as anybody else, but they're going to be sent back because of that. What if you have a mental illness or you have a disability and it's like, I physically cannot live off 70 pounds a week, and I physically cannot live in this space that you've provided for me. I'm going to get sent back to Sudan, to a war-torn country, because I have this disability that I have zero control over. I'm trying to assimilate. Yeah. You are making it impossible for me. You know, and it's such a rough situation.
Yeah.
We have just as much of a right to assimilate into this country as the next person.
Look, I mean, again, just to go off of the New York immigration thing, I mean, I've worked alongside, you know, some of people that I literally consider family, like, you know, people from the bar that are from Mexico or, you know, Ecuador, or places like that, where their family is not necessarily in this country, and, you know, the stuff that they do, how hard they work, and shit, man, they're fucking stronger than I could ever be. They're more of a fucking man than I'll ever be in my life, because I'll never know what that feeling is like. Not that I want to know what that feeling is like, but, you know, the point is, if everyone kept that in their mind more before they, you know, cast a judgment or, you know, whatever, that the world would certainly be a better place for it.
Yeah. It's also just like how hypocritical it is of like, you can't work or you can't supplement your income in any way. Like for the refugees in his house, and it's just like, well, how do you expect me to survive? I'm basically trapped in your country and I can't go back, but you're saying I have to live here, but I can't work. They're setting them up to an impossible situation.
That's why it's like bail.
Yeah.
You know, again, why do you think the recidivism rates are what they are? There's real serious. There's things that are set up that it certainly looks like it's a conspiracy to trap you.
Right. You know, if you're someone who's released from prison and on bail, they make it almost impossible for you.
Right. You know, speaking of, we got a couple minutes here. I don't know if you want to, you mentioned, you know, about mental illness. What if she was mentally ill? How about, what'd you think of the Elisa Lam documentary?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it real quick. All right, so anyway, this is an entirely different show.
We went off the script a little bit. We told a story. We're talking about...
We told a thing.
Cecil Hotel. We're having fun
Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. So, when Elisa Lam disappeared, it was like huge news. I was in college.
Yeah, I don't remember it at all, which I'm having a hard time with, because I've seen 1,000 people post about, oh my God, Elisa Lam. I'm like, I don't remember this at all.
Really?
Not at all.
It was big in 2013. There was like a good... I learned a lot about
and I'm interested in shit like this. I'm like, why don't I remember this?
Elisa Lam,
because I was probably fucking hammered the whole time. 2013. Anyway,
everyone would like had their own conspiracy theory about what happened to her.
Yeah.
Of like most people are just like a dude murdered her because it's a shitty hotel, and they like didn't want anybody know because they already had such a shitty reputation to begin with. The Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
And that was like the main concern. And then when she's found in the water tank.
Yes.
Originally when
Yes. You're talking about originally, not in the movie.
Originally when she was found in the water tank, when they reported it as the lid was closed and you couldn't really open, like you couldn't really do it like that, I thought 100% she was murdered.
Of course.
I didn't know until I watched the documentary last week that wasn't true, that the door was open. For years.
Literally changes the entire thing.
It changes the entire thing. From 2013 until 2021, when I saw the documentary, I thought for sure she was murdered because of the lid being closed.
You know, here's the thing about web sleuths, and, you know, some of them are okay, some of them are decent, but a lot of them are fucking obsessive wackos.
Yeah.
And I see this firsthand. I don't know if I'm involved. I'm a big follower of the Lisk Long Island serial killer case.
Right.
And my friend Chris runs a fantastic podcast called Lisk Long Island Serial Killer. And he tasked me with, hey, next time we come to New York, we're going to, have you be involved in some shoots and stuff like that. I'm very happy to be involved and super excited about it because I'm a giant fan and I know the case like really well.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was also like, maybe you could track some of the rumors or the rumor mill or some of the prevailing theories in some of these web sleuth rooms. And I almost have to say to him, like, dude, I got a life to lead. You know, I can't, if you go on these fucking Facebook groups for the Long Island serial killer, these people are out to fucking lunch. Yeah. And they have no life and they're obsessed. And the point is, the web sleuths and the YouTubers and everybody else who's chiming in this fucking Elisa Lam documentary, they're all a bunch of fucking losers.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, that is the problem of just like...
And they fucking caused the one guy to try to kill himself.
Yes.
The guy who's a fucking metal...
That was the saddest part of it. Of basically this guy who was in Mexico during the time of Elisa Lam's disappearance.
By the way, how hard could that have been to find out?
Yeah. Of just
when he put his fucking video out that he was at the Cecil Hotel, it was an entire year before.
Yeah.
That couldn't... You're a web sleuth? Figure a fucking date of the video.
And it's true of just like... My stomach is growling. Jesus Christ. It's true of just like... Not every web sleuth is Michelle McNamara.
Right.
Like, everyone thinks that they're the amateur detective who's going to fucking solve it. And they're going to get a book deal and an HBO documentary about them.
Get a job. How about that?
And it's like, no, you're not that fucking person.
Get a job as I'm trying to do a YouTube show.
You're a fucking moron. You drove a guy to kill himself. And the fucking, the lid being, that's so fucking annoying.
No, listen, the police fucked that up.
No, they 100% fucked that up because the guy is on camera saying they should have been on camera saying that no, the lid was open because since 2013 to 2021, I thought Elisa Lam for sure was murdered because of the lid.
And by the way, shame on this fucking... I understand you got to do a little bit of entertainment. Shame on this fucking documentary because for 3 3/4 episodes before the end,
you think for sure she was murdered,
or at least it's somewhat of a question, and then you go, wait a second, you didn't tell me this entire time about all these episodes she's having at the fucking hotel. You don't really get into the history of the mental illness with the family and the what happened at the taping of the show. Yeah. And the fact that she had to be removed from her room. They kind of touch on it, but they wait until the very last moment and then you say that the lid was open. Right. So you're like, come on, dude. I
knew about Elisa Lam's mental illness episodes just because I knew a lot about it. I still thought that she was murdered. Because of just the lid thing. The video in the elevator of her acting weird, I was just like, I don't think she's hiding from someone. I think she's just having an episode.
I thought she was on drugs.
But again,
that's before you really know the extent of the mental illness.
And I had known already because I had looked into this case that the toxicology said she didn't have drugs.
See, they don't tell you that. Until,
this is what I had thought happened to Elisa Lam was she was having an episode and she was being disruptive and had to be removed, and someone saw this girl having an bipolar episode and thought this is an easy victim.
I'll give you that.
That's what I thought had happened back when I thought that the lid was closed.
Right.
Now that I know it was found open, I think she went inside and she couldn't get up because people were using the water and the water was going down and she couldn't get back up.
People take their clothes off when they're having hypothermia.
And if she's having hypothermia, that's another thing of her. She was found with her clothes off. I was just like, well... that
she wasn't sexually assaulted. There was no signs of violence. By the way, talking about Long Island serial killer, the fact that Shannon Gilbert had her clothes off, a lot of people point to that as hypothermia because you're supposed to, you take your clothes off. But I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not, to me. I understand there's a line. I understand there's an entertainment value.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit of irresponsible. It was a little irresponsible. I thought the Richard Ramirez documentary is a way to really do it, where I felt like it was respectful, but
too.
It was also well done.
I thought Night Stalker was great. I thought it was very respectful to the victims. It doesn't try to like glamorize anything.
Right. And by the way, guys, this whole fucking conspiracy thing of, the hotel manager was in on it and the cops were in on it. And are you fucking kidding me? Do you think that's how things work?
The hotel manager is one of the funniest parts of the documentary, because she's just standing there just like, no, there's no sinister intentions. I'm just terrible at my job.
She's like, look, I understand that like literally people are murdered every day here, but gee golly, I'm just a gal from the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to her. She was holding it down for the scene.
She was. She was holding it down.
She was riding for the scene.
She was literally just like, she's like, you have to understand, I'm terrible at my job.
Fuck the Cecil Hotel, man. That place is wild.
That's who runs Sparks Movie Reviews.
Oh my God. We found it out, and that's what you call a callback.
Yes. His House.
Let's wrap this bitch up.
We're good. Done. His House on Netflix. It's great. Streaming service.
We barely talked about the movie on this episode.
Yeah, I know. We went on a lot of tangents this one.
Hey, listen.
I'm in a funk for this one. I don't know. We're going all the way out of here.
No, this was a good
one.
Episode.
Yeah.
You know?
I just want to bring up recently. So His House was originally supposed to be distributed by the Weinstein Company.
We touched on that a little bit.
Yeah. So they sued the British production company.
Okay, dumb question. The Weinstein Company still exists?
This was before the movie was ever like even shot. So
this was a long time ago.
This was like 2018.
When did the Harvey Weinstein shit go down? Like 2016,
I'm not sure. It might have been like in the middle of, but yes, the Weinstein Company is still around. It's on a different name, I believe now. But basically,
because Harvey's brother is like, him and his brother were not cool, right?
I don't know.
We don't need to go into this.
No, I legitimately am not sure. I know his brother runs it now, but basically it was like the Weinstein Company sued them because they wanted out of the distribution contract, and basically like the British production company Starchild Pictures never actually signed anything. It was like kind of just a verbal agreement they had. Yeah. So like the case was dismissed because it's like, you can't just say that like they told you they'd distribute their movie through you. Like, I forget the exact amount, but I think it's like anything less than like $5,000, like a verbal agreement is null and void. Like, you can't just verbally agree to have like your movie produced and expect to have like your movie distributed through your company and expect that to hold up in court. Like, that's not going to work. So they were able to get out of their agreement, and it was sold to Netflix. Which much better move, because if Weinstein 100%. Company wanted to put this in theaters, like, this movie wouldn't have made money. No. I actually
what kind of theaters would this get into?
I don't know. I mean, who's going to go see like a British horror movie about refugees? That's something that, you know, a catfish recommends to you.
Oh, man.
His House. 2020. Remi Weekes. I'm really excited to see what Remi Weekes does next, because I like this movie, and I know like he's been doing stuff in the London film industry for like a while now. So I'm excited to see what he does next, and it's cool. And, you know, all just the metaphors for like the struggles of refugees. I thought it was great. All right. This has been Movies by McManus. If you like this, you can check out our YouTube channel where you could see the video format of our podcast and also my kind of 10-minute breakdowns of whatever movie we're doing that week. You could also check us out Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Movies by McManus. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike.
What's up?
What's up?
We're going to the Cecil Hotel after this.
Hell yeah.
After party.
Justice for Elisa Lam. Watch Vanishing of the at the Cecil Hotel. It's also good, but also it will get you mad. Yeah. All right. Everybody have a good night.
That's a nice coherent thought to end the show.
Yeah.
Bye.